your paper, Jen. Okay. All right, we are going to call the meeting to order. It is 7:07 p.m. We apologize for the tardiness. Going to call roll. Councilmember Navarrete. Here. Councilmember Estatico. Here. Vice Mayor Alonso.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez. Present. Councilmember Armitage.
Here.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
All right, we are pleased to have, we have a quorum. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Bennett. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for your presence here among us. And Lord, we know that you care very much about our decisions that we make. Father God, give us wisdom this evening. Give us insight into every issue. Thank you for watching over us and taking care of us. We ask that you would just give us the answers that would bless this community and cause us to move forward and take what we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, our first item of business this evening is a special presentation, which is a proclamation recognizing September 1st through 30th as Suicide Prevention Month. Braden Briggs Community Programs, actually it's just Braden Briggs on his own, no longer, I'm just going to read the proclamation and you can tell us why you're here. Recognizing September 1st through 30th as Suicide Prevention Month. Whereas suicide is a major public health issue with more than 123 deaths per day that requires vigilant attention and preventative action. The town of Superior stands in solidarity with our fellow Pinal County, cities, school districts, county, community partners, and families to bring awareness to this issue. Suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst those ages 12 through 18, and the third leading cause of death amongst those ages 18 through 30. And whereas each suicide directly impacts numerous family members, friends, loved ones, and by extension the entire community. And whereas the town of Superior is committed to raising awareness, providing education, and training on suicide prevention and reducing stigma. And whereas the town of Superior is committed to ensuring that those in need have access to services by healthcare providers trained in best practices to reduce suicide risk and to reduce the stigma associated with using behavioral health treatment and losing a loved one to suicide. And whereas the town of Superior encourages anyone thinking of taking their own life, seek the assistance they need by calling the National Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-8255 or text the crisis text line at 741-741. Or if you're a teenager, you can call 1-800-248-8336. And whereas no single suicide prevention effort will be significant or appropriate for all populations or communities, all are asked to join together and take a stand to help those who are contemplating suicide. And whereas September 1st to 30th is recognized across the United States as Suicide Prevention Month and provides the opportunity to educate oneself about the warning signs and how best to help those in need. Now therefore, be it proclaimed by Mayor Mila Besic and all town council members of the town of Superior on this 12th day of September 2019 that the month of September 1st through the 30th, 2019 be declared Suicide Prevention Month throughout the town of Superior. Thank you very much, Mr. Briggs, and if you'd like to address the council for a few brief moments, you may do so, and then I'll present you with the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Braden Biggs, a resident of Apache Junction and Pinal County. First off, I just want to thank you all for this proclamation, and especially I want to thank Steve for working with me and my partners in the project on helping to ensure the suicide National Suicide Hotline is on the back of student ID cards, not only in Superior School District, but school districts across all of Pinal County. For those who don't know, in 2012 I lost a sibling to suicide, so this is a deeply personal issue for me. And as I've become more involved across Pinal County, one of the things that I learned was that we don't talk about suicide enough in our schools, and a simple way to do that is to put this information in our students' hands and stop making this such a taboo subject. So what I started is working with all of our school superintendents and our school boards to ensure that the student ID information, the National Suicide Hotline, is on the back of all student ID cards across Pinal County. We are continuing that and working to address this on a statewide issue. The state of California recently just passed a law stating, requiring it for all middle school and high school students. September, of course, being Suicide Awareness Prevention Month, provides us a unique opportunity in Pinal County to highlight this. And Superior joins the rest of Pinal County communities as well as the Pinal County government. And on the 23rd of September, the State Board of Education on issuing a suicide proclamation highlighting Pinal County and our efforts to put the information on the back of student ID cards. It is the second leading cause of death for those 15 to 34 in the nation. In 2019, so this year, currently this year, we've had 1,327 suicides in Arizona, and in 2018 nationwide there were over 47,000 suicides. This is an epidemic and we do need to address it, so actions like this help, and of course making this and taking this to the state and helping to ensure that this law does help as well. So I definitely thank all of Council for your cooperation in this and look forward to working with you soon.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just want to make a comment. The Arizona State Legislature did pass a bill, and I want to say 2020, there might be 2021, that all school districts train their staff, or some members of their staff in suicide prevention. So that will be happening in the near future.
Jim, will you snap our picture because you're always our picture taker?
Do I need to bend down?
No. Thank you. I am. Okay. On to staff reports. We did not have a meeting in August. We were very busy attending the LEAD conference and Rural Policy Forum. I believe they were very informative. To the public, I'd like to publicly announce that our blight resolution that went through the Resolutions Committee of the League of Cities and Towns did pass unanimously. That's going to open up a window for us to begin working on amending the loopholes in the tax code that is allowing for blight to exist in our community. So we're very excited to be moving forward with that project, and some of the kickoff meetings start next week. We also had a very special recognition at the LEAD conference, and that was the recognition of Council Member Olga Lopez for 16 years of service to the town of Superior. She has been a steadfast leader in our community, and we really appreciate everything she's given us. We're trying to encourage her to go for a lifetime membership, but she's not really convinced she wants to go there. One of the great things about going to the conferences is hearing people compliment our community and our staff and our regional partnerships that we've established. We've really come a long way from where we were 4 or 5 years ago. And it was nice to talk to even some of the bigger city mayors, and they're saying, we've heard so many great things about Superior and what's going on there. A lot of that success comes from our partnerships of working with all of our nonprofits, the Chamber, Optimist, Rebuild Superior, organizations like Local First Arizona, and all of those particular groups. One big project that we took a chance on last year was our billboard project. And I believe some of the statistics that are coming out has been that our museum saw 50% more visitors than it has in years past. So tonight, we are happy, the council is happy to present a check to the Chamber of Commerce for a little over $8,000 for the billboard project this year. So I'm going to publicly present that to, I think there's several chamber board members, so if you'd all get together, I'd like to give you your check officially and memorialize this great partnership for this wonderful project.
There's a quarter of that.
No. Accept the speech? No.
No, except the speech, just take the check and run. Just a picture. Hurry up, Kane, hurry up.
Hold the check?
You can hold the check. you.
All right, 4, 3, 2, 1, cheese.
All right, thank you very much.
She was buying beer over at the forward quarters after the county council meeting.
No, it's always not to have changed, Mr. Carter, Mr. Superior. Okay, that's it for the fun stuff, guys. Mr. Pryor, do you have anything for staff reports?
No, I would like to comment that this is a very full agenda. Any one of these items on here would have probably been our full year project last year. So hopefully everyone will continue to support us and work with us through this very busy year we've got.
Yes, we'll explain that as we go through the agenda. Council, tonight I present to you the consent agenda, which is the approval of minutes for regular meeting on July 11, 2019. Approval of alcohol permit for Erica Vasquez for August 31st, 2019 at the Magna Club for a baby shower from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Approval for alcohol permit for Tony Lopez for August 31st, 2019 at the Superior US 60 Park for a cornhole and horseshoe tournament for St. Francis of Assisi Fiesta fundraiser from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Approval of alcohol permit for Mary Martha Nyland for September 28, 2019 at the Magna Club for class reunion from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Approval of alcohol permit for Gracie Barra for December 7, 2019 at the Magna Club for a baby shower from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Approval of alcohol permit for the Superior Chamber of Commerce for the Borough Run event October 11th and 12th, 2019 for the Beer Garden on Main Street. Approval of the State of Arizona alcohol permit for the, oh, that's twice. I don't have to read 7 again, do I? Okay, yes, one's okay. Approval of the State of Arizona alcohol permit for the Superior Chamber of Commerce for the Borough Run event on October 11th and 12th for the Beer Garden on Main Street. Approval of service license agreement between the Town of Superior and Arizona Municipal Corporation and 3J Communications and Arizona Limited Liability Corporation. Approval of NCS preliminary engineering report updated July 2019 for the wastewater treatment plant. And for the public, we did find out this week we were fully funded for our wastewater treatment program project. So we'll be breaking ground on that soon. It's a $2 million improvement to our wastewater treatment plant. Approval of the First Amendment to Intergovernmental Agreement, IGA, between Pinal County and the Town of Superior for building plan review and inspection services. Approval of confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement between Arizona Water Company and Arizona Corporation and the Town of Superior and Arizona Municipal Corporation Town. Approval of grant applications submitted to the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, AZDOHS, by the Superior Police Department. The grant was awarded in the amount of $7,251 for the project titled Radio Communications Build Continued. Approval of land donation agreement between Glenn A. Wilt Jr. and the Town of Superior. This is a very monumental task. I want to thank our staff member, Mrs. Svetlana Clark, because she really has helped to get Dr. Wilt to work with us. So this is a monumental agenda item, and he's not here today to thank publicly, but thank you, Dr. Wilt. Approval of letter of commitment for fiscal year 2020 EPA Brownfields Assessment Coalition Grant and our department reports. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Would you like to pull anything off the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor for approval by Councilmember Statico, second by Vice Mayor Alonso. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to new business tonight, which is discussion and possible approval of resolution 19-614, a resolution of the Town of Superior, of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Superior, Arizona, signifying the town's full support for Pinto Valley Mining Corporation. And this is request for action number 1, and I believe we have a representative from Capstone to present tonight.
Right.
Welcome to address the podium.
Well, thank you, Mayor, council members, town staff. I have been told that this is a busy agenda. We missed August, so I'll be brief as the mayor has asked me to be. But thank you for giving me the chance to speak with you this evening. You've got another neighbor just to the east who is a smaller player than the mining project that you just discussed. Some of you probably know us, some of you don't. So I thought what I'd do is just introduce myself as a new general manager at that site. I started about 330 days ago, but I've been in mining for more than 30 years. I started my first mining jobs in Ely, Nevada, which is a little copper town that's not too dissimilar from Glover, from Superior. So I kind of feel like in some ways I'm coming back to my roots, being site manager here, different state, very, very similar kind of a business. And with commodity prices being in flux, again, it feels very similar to what I'm used to when I was a young man using that. But I thought maybe I could start with just a very brief overview for those of you who can't see this all from US 60, only a little bit visible when you drive from here to well. That's the footprint of our operating site. To the north, and if you look up in the map, that's going north. To the north is a tailings impoundment, TSF number 4, that's our largest tailings impoundment. Coming down and to the left is another similar colored region that's about a third the size. That's tailings impoundment number 3. That's been there for about 25 years or more. And then just to the right of that tailings impoundment number 3 is the open pit mine. Open pit mining started there in 1973. And since that time, about 4 billion pounds of copper have been mined from this resource. We're in a similar position of maturity right now in one respect to resolution, and that is we are pursuing our own environmental impact statement, and our draft should be issued, I think, Tim, in another 30 days or so.
Right.
Ish, right, something like that. So we'll reach that milestone here very quickly as well. And I really appreciate the recognition of Capstone's efforts in pursuit of that permit, but also in pursuit of trying to sustain these operations for the long haul. This site, as I said, has been here since the early 70s. It has seen some ups and downs in time as a low-grade, higher-cost producer, and it's our challenge to have sharp pencils so that we can safely and efficiently keep that place running for a long time to come. The permit that we're pursuing now would extend operations until 2039, and during that time we move about 450 million tons of additional ore, and at the end of that, there's still nearly 1 billion tons of ore, low-grade, still in reserves. So this is a tremendous resource. It's one that we intend to work hard to continue and sustain over time. The footprint that we're looking for as we get a little larger is one that sits on an existing footprint of disturbance that goes back again for nearly 40 years, nearly 50 years actually. The yellow line you see on the upper right-hand side represents the outer limits essentially of that tailings impoundment that's expanded. And there's a yellow line on the very bottom right near the east side of the open pit. The open pit extends in and near that zone there to the east. And there's a very small segment of expansion on TSF3 that occupies, I think, less than 1,000 acres. Total land disturbance is somewhere between 200 and 300 acres. So it's a fairly small expansion on a site that's been operating for 50 years, and the rates at which we'll operate for the next 20 years are very similar to what we've done for the last 6 years. It's 50 to 55,000 tons a day. We hope that we can stretch that with improvements to perhaps 58,000 tons a day. But the water demands remain essentially the same. The demands on air quality, on the impacts to water, the impacts to land, are largely known and largely understood. And so I watch with great interest this community, similar to the one I grew up in, trying to think about how does it come to grips with a project that's really growing, really going to change the town. This one's different, right? The footprint is there. We've been running, we continue to run at about the same rate, and we intend to continue that for a very long time. What I will tell you too, before I close, is that we have about 600 active employees working on site, maybe another 50 or 60 contractors. And in that regard, we're the second largest employer in Ely County. So we are an important contributor. We have, as I said, a long life ahead of us if we do things right. And I think importantly, we've assembled a good team of people who come from all over the North American continent, and a few people who actually come from South America, who are positioned to bring us the talent, bring us the skills, with all the workforce that we draw upon from this community, from Gilbert and Mesa, from Globe, and also from San Carlos, to help us be successful in running this operation. So with that, I thank you for your permission to speak tonight, and do you have any questions for me?
Council, do you have any questions, comments? Anybody? All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. And council, I believe there was an invitation sent to all of you to visit Capstone on October the 15th. Please let Arlene know if you're able to attend. I was able to go one of the last tours, and it was really quite fascinating. So With that being said, council, we do have a request for action, and that is to approve resolution 19-614. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Estatico with a second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And staff will prepare that resolution and get it in the mail to you, so you'll have it on official count once it's signed. Discussion, the next agenda item is discussion, possible approval of a multi-generational center development contract agreement between the Town of Superior and GLHN. Staff recommends approving this item, approval of the GLHN architectural company for the multi-generational center building. And this is the presentation of preliminary proposal included. So that was in your packet, the documentation. We don't have anyone from GLHN here tonight, do we?
No.
Okay. And so a little bit about this, so everybody just gets an update. We had a committee who reviewed the bids. We had, what, four bids that came in, or 3 bids?
We had 4 bids, we selected 3 for the interview.
Four bids came in, 3 were interviewed, and GLHN won the bid on points. And so we are moving forward with that. Agenda item tonight. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this contract or agreement?
And just so the community knows, the estimated amount for this contract is around $400,000, but this is covered by the resolution grant.
Yes, this is the design project management segment of the entire build project. So they will not only be designing it, they will help us hire a contractor, they will manage the process through the entire bid.
So this is very much a momentous occasion. When Mr. Pryor mentioned all of the projects that we're approving, this is literally probably, this project alone was like 1 year's worth of projects. And now we have this and our sewer plant, so.
Can I ask?
No, go ahead.
How long will it take, I guess, to design? What's the timeline on it?
There's going to be a number of public hearings and charrettes, and it can take 6 months to a year, depending on how that process goes. Then we will begin construction on the existing building, modifications to the existing building first. It's going to take the blocks out of the window and the far end, replace them with windows, upgrade the windows here, upgrade the heating and cooling in most of the building. And that, the year after that, we will do the actual construction of the new facility, the new building, which will be a modern 2-story gym with a walking path and an exercise room and a modern library right out in the open space, which is in the L of the building.
I just went through the design, but thanks anyway.
This is very exciting. Council, any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the contract agreement between the Town of Superior and GLHN.
There's a motion on the floor. Did I hear a second? Second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, on agenda item C, we need a motion for continuance to the October meeting. We had some technical issues regarding this agenda item.
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item D. This is not a public hearing. Motion to pass and adopt ordinance number 19-160. An ordinance of the Town of Superior recommending that the Town Council amend Appendix A of Glossary of Terms and Definitions of the Town Zoning Ordinance to add dry camping definition to read as follows. Dry camping may be defined as provisions for camping, backpacking, tents, and RV vehicles not to exceed 14 consecutive days. Staff recommends approving this motion. The discussion around this. The purpose is to amend Appendix A of Glossary of Terms and Definitions of the Town's Zoning Ordinance to add dry camping to read as follows. Dry camping may be defined as provisions for camping, backpacking. Well, this says the same thing. This amendment is consistent with the town's general plan and developments and is therefore in compliance with state law. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this? This has went through planning and zoning already as well. Okay, is there a motion to approve ordinance 19-160?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 19-160.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Navarrete.
Actually, it's
Oh,
160.
160. She's amended her motion. There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Navarrete. Is there a second by Councilmember Lopez? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We move on to agenda item E, discussion possible approval of request for proposal RFP for Nexus Consulting LLC for lobbyist services. Staff recommends approving this RFP. The purpose of this RFP is to retain legislative representatives under contract to assist the town of Superior with legislative issues that may impact the town. The estimated cost is $4,500 per month. I'd like to invite Bob Holmes and Anna Ma to the podium to introduce themselves, and then council will go on to any questions if you have any.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Bob Holmes. This is my partner, Anna Ma. We run a government affairs shop in Washington, D.C. We represent 12 entities in Arizona, including cities and towns, and we're excited to potentially be a part of your team here as you go through the whole process with the draft EIS and then draft record of decision, and eventually be the record of decision.
As Bob said, I'm Anna Ma, and we're very excited to possibly represent Superior.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate some of our initial discussions. You've been very helpful to us already. Council, do you have any questions or comments on the contract?
I have a question. Estimated cost of $4,500 per month, and is our estimated, how many months?
The RFP was put out for a 3-month initial term with the option to renew. The question would be in 3 months, are revenues there to continue it? And is there continued value? We can choose, the contract is written on essentially a month-to-month basis, so we can choose to extend it as far as we need. They are also going to help, the lobbying firm is also going to help us look for federal funding sources for some of our major projects and to help us generate revenues. If it is providing an offset for our major project expenses, it may be worth continuing on a longer term.
So in 3 months, you bring this back to us and we approve this, then?
I will bring it back and ask you to approve continuing.
Any further questions or comments on this item? Do we have a motion to approve? Oh, there's a motion by Councilmember Aguilar,
Second.
and there's a second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and
Thank you. We look forward to it.
we're looking forward to it too. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item F, discussion possible approval of submittal of HERF exchange project grant for the storm drain culvert installation at Queen Creek crossing at Panther Drive in the town of Superior, Arizona. Staff recommends approving this item.
Ma'am?
Yes.
I think we can withdraw this from the agenda. We've already been turned down, so it's not.
Oh, okay, so I don't need any action, it's just died. Okay, well, that's.
We'll find another funding source and we'll bring it back together.
Well, a little background, I'd like to thank Ms. Clark. She was attending a meeting and she got right in there and said, get us on the list at least, and it was a very competitive process. So thank you, Ms. Clark, for your diligence on that and putting this together. So thank you, and we'll get it the next time around. Okay, we're on to agenda item G, which is discussion possible approval of letter of interest from Pam Dalton Robigo, Dalton Realty, regarding the 10-acre parcel in the industrial park. And staff and Mr. Cooper, I believe we have a technicality on this a bit, so you need to give us some direction.
Yes, Mayor and council members, just so you know, when I'm looking at my phone, I'm not on Twitter, but the statutes are online these days, and so also the town code as well. This agenda item involves real estate. The Superior Town Code provides that we can dispose of real property in accordance with state law. Arizona revised statutes, which govern cities and towns, specifically section 9-402, talks about how a city or town may dispose of real property. And basically what happens is this, is that The council has to make a decision, first of all, if they want to sell the property. And then they will have an invitation for bids, and we're required to publish the notice and post 3 or more places within the town with regards to this. And so generally, when we post sale of real property, we basically, we publish notice, we post notice, and it's a sealed bid situation where the town can basically set up a mechanism where it's either appraised at a certain value, or the council sets a minimum value for it, or they make a determination that basically the sale is beneficial for the community. So in this matter, an offer tonight we would not be able to accept because of state law, but the council could direct staff to basically post this property up as an auction and follow the procedure that's under state law and bring it back to you at the next council meeting, or possibly the one in November, to basically take action on selling it by having a public bid process.
So, council, if you feel that there's a need to go into executive session regarding this item, we may do so. If not, the appropriate motion would be to allow staff to open the bid process, the sale bidding process for this property. Correct, Mr. Cooper?
Yes, you would direct staff to basically put the property up, post notice and basically put the property up for a sealed bid auction.
Okay. Question. So do you feel that we're ready to sell, like it's in a state where it's sellable?
That's where I get to put the microphone back in the camera.
The site has been cleaned up sufficiently that you can get access to it. Yes, it is saleable as it sits. This isn't the only interest I've received on this. I've received one verbal approach on the property, and Anthony Huerta has as well. So there might be more than one interested bidder on this project.
So council, what direction would you like to go in?
Make a motion to, help me out here, Mr. Cooper. Post notice.
The motion would be to direct staff to set this matter for a public auction in compliance with Arizona state law to sell the property to a prospective bidder.
Ruby, did you get that? Make a motion to do what Mr. Cooper just said.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, just for the record, that motion was to raise the town attorney's salary.
I don't know if that would be a violation of open meeting law, Mr. Cooper. Please go back to live tweeting the meeting.
I don't remember saying that, but
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Call to order. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, tonight, agenda item H, I'm going to need to recuse myself due to a personal and professional connection to Mr. Bruzi. I would like to, before you guys move on to this agenda item, move forward with call to the public and the summary of current events, and let you guys finish the agenda item out. So is there anyone who wishes to address council and call to the public at this time? I'll go ahead and go to, I'll wait for the list. And it's 3 minutes, I don't think I have to warn you, you're good.
Sue Anderson, 78 Sunset Drive. I have nothing but good news tonight. First, on behalf of Regional Superior, today we were notified by USDA that we've been awarded a second housing preservation grant from minor rehabs on homes. We got one for $38,000 that we're working on right now. This one is for just under $90,000. So we are really, really excited. USDA came to us a few years ago, several of us sat in those meetings, and they said, we want to work with rural communities. And of course, our hands go up, we're here, we'll do the work. You give us the money, we'll do the work, and they have done what they said they would do. So any appellation we give to USDA, they're helping the town a lot, and they are our best friends right now, pretty much, without a doubt. On behalf of the chamber, I want to tell everybody about the Borough Run. Just a couple of things. On October 12th, we'll be the inaugural Superior Arizona Borough Run. It's never been done in the state of Arizona. Some folks in Colorado and up in Scottsdale came to us, specifically Monique Williams, who's directing the whole race and coordinating that. She's never done it before. She's unbelievably talented, every little detail. thinking safety first and taking care of the animals. We opened up registration for this run, and just so, for those of you who don't know, the burro run is a team, a human being and a burro. The burro's on a tether. You do not ride your burro. To get on your burro, you're DQ'd. All right? You can walk, run, push, pull, or carry your burro, okay? But you may not get on your burro. So there's basically two races. One is about 6 miles, one is about 12 miles. And they'll leave from Main Street, go down Main Street, and right around the Chamber of Commerce on October 12th at 9 a.m. They'll all be introduced, the burros and their partners will be introduced, and they'll parade around, and then they'll take off. There's also a third one. It's not a prize-winning one. We have the fun run. For those people who just want to walk and run with the burro. So we have a total of 60 teams who have signed up and paid their fees. So this is going to be very big. We're working with the town and the police department. I think the police chief said he's trying to get PCSO involved also, just for crowd control. It's a very exciting time for Superior, and the press is going nuts. I mean, they're calling us for interviews. That's how exciting it is. So October 12th, we need everybody's help. The town is working with us. Lost is working with us. We need tons of volunteers, as usual. You'll hear more. You'll see more in the paper, and certainly it's already all over Facebook. Thank you very much.
Any other, we have Mr. Herrera to address the call to the public.
Hi, my name is David Herrera. I was born and raised here, and I formed a non-for-profit group with a bunch of alumni from Superior with the specific goal of studying the aquifers and things that we were looking at. Had no idea that we were going to get more and more involved with Superior's issues. We had chosen a place in around Superior and in near Winkleman. So anyway, but the point that I was making here is I suggested that to the town of Superior that we consider a few facts in order to negotiate the resolution outcome before signing the record decision. That, first of all, fact number one is that 1 acre-foot of water is equal to 325,851 gallons of water. And that Central Arizona Project values 1 acre-foot of water at $6,000, which roughly comes out to almost 2 cents per gallon. Resolution pumped water from Superior and received water credits from the tribe for 256,000 acre-feet of water. This water is held for resolution in Central Arizona Water Project System. This was based on Arizona Department of Water Resources report on December 30th, 2018. We found that resolution has reported that they actually have more closer to 500,000 acre-feet. Fact number 4 is that if Superior is going to lose 20% of its water in the aquifers around Superior, that what I'm proposing is that the town of Superior get 20% of the original 256,000 acre-feet that resolution either had or a comparable amount. This would give Superior roughly 51,000 acre-feet of water, and at times the $6,000 would amount to $307 million. So what I'm saying is that there's a speculation that Superior could get water, mitigate its own water problems, or be in the process of getting money for that water and build our infrastructure, do a lot of things, and we could mitigate some of the damage that we're afraid that maybe won't be done through the PIS. Another possibility would be proposing a yearly water allowance from the amount of water that they're sending. I want to let people know how big the water is. Resolution has been, that water that they traded for credit has been flooding the Queen Creek, Apache Junction, and these areas to the point where Queen Creek just annexed an additional 4,000 acres around it, and Apache Junction just annexed 6,000 acres. They would not have done that unless there's a lot more water in there. So water is money. It's actually gold. And the amount of money, the value of what they have in the water credits was $1.5 billion that resolution is sitting on. And That was up to 2018. So what I'm saying is that if the town of Superior could cap some of that water going out, and if we could use it for other things to offset some of the costs that the town has in mitigation or restitution, whichever word you want to use. If you have any questions, we did meet with, we attended a meeting today where CAP was in Phoenix, and they were discussing water and water problems in Phoenix.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera, and we appreciate your diligence in working with our staff and our team. So thank you very much for your dedication to that matter. Any last calls for call to the public? Going once, going twice. Mr. Shank, no public comments? All right, Trice, okay, we're good. I'm going to move on to summary of current events. I'm going to start with Councilmember Aguilar. You go first. What's your current events?
I'm good.
Councilmember Armitage?
Second Friday tomorrow. That's it.
Councilmember Lopez?
I just want to just make a few comments about the St. Francis Assisi's fiesta we're having on the 21st. We moved it back a week, so a lot of people think it's going to be this weekend, and it's now going to be on the 21st. We're having a car show. We're estimating probably over 300 cars this year. It has really grown. The calls that the club has received has been just outrageous. So we're probably going to have to use the whole Main Street. We hadn't planned on it, but it's going to go all the way down. It's really overwhelming. And also, just to let you know, we are going to have a beer garden on Main Street at Food Court. We're going to have food out of the senior center to help with the whole function. We'll have porta potties throughout Main Street, extra, because I know sometimes the merchants are bombarded because people need to restroom. So please be sure to pass the word. There's porta potties out there. We're going to have the restrooms at the food court open too. Plus over at the church we have restrooms too. So they start rolling in about 6 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be out there registering them in. The show starts at 11 o'clock. We're going to have games. We'll have food. Of course, we'll have a presentation of our queen. We'll have mariachis. And we'll top it off in the evening with the Andrea and Gemini band. So I hope you can come out and support and have fun and enjoy. Thank you.
Councilmember Navarrete?
I don't have anything to do.
Councilmember Statico?
I'm just grateful as superintendent for Superior Unified School District that we have a partnership in place with Resolution Copper.
Can you use your mic, please, Mr. Statico?
That provides funding to the school district. This year we received $300,000. We put that to good use with infrastructure, with our technology. We have $30,000 worth of furniture that just came in and will be set up in the classrooms with our online programs, with our online curriculum. So we're grateful for that, and we wouldn't be able to be successful without that. And I also want to say how appreciative I am of this group, even Councilmember Alonso. So,
Vice Mayor Alonso, he's addressing correctly.
No comment.
All right.
To
with that-
Steve.
Vice Mayor, do you have anything else? Okay. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here and for all of our residents, your due diligence and going through the draft EIS process. We have a lot of fun events coming up in our community, Second Friday, fiestas, borough races, homecoming's the 27th, right? And then the Copper Helmet game is the night of the borough, the first night of borough race. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming up, and it takes all of us working together. With that being said, I'm going to recuse myself and hand the gavel over to Mr. Alonso and let him conduct the rest of the meeting. Thank you all.
All right, we will be moving on to agenda item H. Agenda item to discuss possible approval of Brucey Vineyard proposal for the Belmont Hotel. James Brucey is the owner of Brucey Vineyard. James Brucey is the owner of Brucey Vineyards located in Miami, Arizona. His proposal is to introduce his business concept, Brucey Vineyard at Belmont. This would be a multi-phase, multi-year implementation. All work would be done in the history, with the history of this property in mind, and all consideration will be given to a historical accuracy and renovation whenever possible. At its completion, this business will be a uniquely positioned, very attractive, profitable enterprise. Because this is a contract or a possible sale, we'll be going into executive session to discuss this, but before we do that, I'd like to invite Mr. Bruzzi up. Say a few words to the council.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. I appreciate you guys considering my proposal. I just would like to, I can't stress enough, the passion that I would have for this project. It's a town that is very close to my heart. It's a beautiful place, it's a cool place. We would love to be a part of it. We've considered other towns, Pine, Payson, Sedona. This is where we really love to be. So anything that we can do to help this proposal work, we are more than willing, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Bruzzi at this time?
You will also find a few more letters of support for the project that are usually promises.
Vice Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session with town council, town manager, town attorney, and our town clerk. For not more than 30 minutes. 45 minutes.
We have a motion, and we have a motion by Councilmember Statico, second by Councilmember Navarrete. All those in favor? Aye. Is that 45 minutes?
I can write a song in 45 minutes. A winery or a microbrewery?
I like wine. I saw him till yesterday. You could have gone out, yeah. You could have gone out in the parking lot. I can't go and shoot right
But it showed that this guy, he was 11 and a
They're not going to be there 45 minutes, I think about 15 minutes.
I mean, I didn't do a whole lot talking.
Whenever I think about really go home,
I was thinking about it.
I do even get, I see my bus back to that.
It was hilarious.
This is great. Wow. Wow, there's no hostility. That is weird.
You must have gone.
I was flew from last year. We were all wonderful.
No, I was just.
Well, it's different, and yet it's funny, it was, I did start, it's picking up.
Well, you know, the drainage issue was. Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe that water's coming from the alluvial runoff on the mountainside. Is it real bit wet? Oh, okay, you put that down.
You know, I wrote 7 pages after one.
You We've got the concrete specialist.
And so, I don't.
Maybe I could get one of those swimming pool things with the gun.
I'll take anything.
Some limited range of
So
motion.
it's like taking a $10 thing
And it's funny because it does, it's like
This is a Michael's.
looking at, you know, like, things that I've gone through. And it is, I think, like but I'm also reading.
Well, I just really kind of feel it when it like hits you, and it's like,
It is very interesting.
No, it's not.
If they want a good trees.
it's kind of like holds it in place, but I found like especially with the
But it's very
road,
complex.
like a dark road, like it doesn't matter where you put it, it's like still, you know. Yeah, I went one time. Yeah, I just switched things.
Yeah, because you know, like, you just can't, I don't know what all the numbers, but, you know, well, the simplicity, you just can't release and effectively,
You heard that was a
Well, but maybe, you know, it's like, because ADHD, well, I don't know what, that's in a different realm. But I'm still pretty proud of myself.
Actually, what I've done is
yeah.
how I can
Yeah, that's really good.
take garage
I'm surprised they didn't have anything to say. I think a lot of us don't like it.
and you spray them. Oh, so
Well, we've done a pretty good job at communicating
The rest of
sharing,
these things are going
and-
quicker.
Oh, well, my, what I've got things on that here,
Yeah, we're gonna be putting that up for you.
but it's like at the point that
Yeah,
I
when
don't
you-
know.
No, it's a quarter of a second, yeah.
I haven't got back to you on the opening thing. I want to do it. Just make it so we can check what's in it. That's good. Then we'll get together and put this whole thing together.
You gotta remember, when we were, remember there was a comment period when we commented for our service. What are the things we wanted studied? And the focus was tailored.
There's a lot of.
The town was like, oh,
I have a
okay,
house.
you know, the
Stop.
tribes and, you know, recreation. No,
The creek is in the
the town.
floodplain.
That's why I wanted to find out the content from the people.
Take dirt out of it. It's not gravel.
Yes, I do think it's,
Yeah, dirt. My thought is to get a bunch of 5-gallon pails up or something.
It was, so you use a kilo of water. And then we kind of determined to other discussions, always put us off on these financial, always, well, we can't do that right now.
We're not seriously revenue.
Yeah, we're not,
she
yeah.
wanted to know. She wanted
Yeah, it's like,
and she wanted, but she wanted to know.
how can we miss?
So I mean, maybe half a dozen
I'm
buckets.
not saying we miss it, it's like, well, we're sticking the wheel, or we're just giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I can help you with that. If
Well,
I think that's a good area. I know a guy that was telling me that
there are things that we were
there's a
so.
lot of minerals in that area. So it's perfect. I mean, I know the river.
Yeah.
And now
And she said, no, when there's a subsection, you aren't gonna go there. It's so funny because it's like, down here, it's like, I keep trying to find, like, send me all the grams.
And so their focus became getting us to this, and okay with that.
Say no fun.
It was like, whoa.
Show this work.
And I made her go through, it was one of the things that was just.
Sell the Belmont.
Go through it one more time, I'm trying to go, whatever it is.
Cassie,
Nope.
say this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I'm not sure. I said, well, this is what I don't want. Something
And
I don't want to change.
I know that
And so, for whatever reason, I don't.
I'm outside of this.
What is it? I wish it was a This is the first thing this woman said to me next to it. Oh, care about me and Jeans, you know.
I mean, no, yours was obviously the most powerful, that's why I was thinking it's separate.
Look at that quick recovery. Is there somewhere that you know of that we should get dirt from?
The white legs that roll.
Where were we at? We saw your days ago. We were someplace.
Well, I don't know, because I would never wear shorts anymore. It was someplace, because I get bitten, so we have to
Figure out what we need to supply. Like I said, we have a big water trough down in the basement. If that's something we need, yeah.
Socks, and long pants, and long
So,
shirt.
we'll plan on getting that.
What do we do? I mean, I know that-
I think we started out with, in terms of getting cars on board. We went to Mexico.
And Walmart sells good enough.
Very healthy.
I don't understand. Water is important. But for me, my focus is living up to town. It's a financial component.
So
If we do this, you don't need to do that. No, I'll tell you what, we do both. We do both. We do both. We do one and all. Go, you can get it. We go get it. Oh, he's right there.
My story and gave it to me. Help me say, oh my God, yes. He said, most of this is
Prospect, for sure, aren't you? I got a prospect. I said, well, I was thinking about you. I said, well, let's talk to these guys, maybe we can work out something with them and take them with us. You won't take us to a big gold mine, but somewhere else.
Besides, that's just one more project.
You lost your car?
I'd love to do that. Spend a day going
Well,
on.
you can go with us if you want.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to return back into the regular session.
The Raymark?
Sorry, I'd like to entertain. Go ahead, go back into regular session.
I'll make the motion that we turn to regular session.
Okay.
Motion by Councilmember Lopez, and second by Councilmember Statico. At this point, I'd like to vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. At this time, I'd like to direct our town manager to convey a message as discussed in executive.
Yes, sir.
And just so we're clear, we won't be taking any other action on this agenda item, am I correct?
Correct.
Would you like me to do that publicly, or would you like me to approach Mr. Bruzy and discuss it?
Yeah. We'll do it publicly.
Okay, all right. The council is very much likes the proposal. We like the enthusiasm for our community and the nature of the business proposed. We do have a lot of cash intensive programs going forward, and we just don't feel comfortable with the requirement to carry a financial burden like that. We would very much be open to any other proposal on the property, as long as we aren't financing in any way.
We would love to have you downtown, and we wish you luck.
I'd like to add to that. I mean, I wish that we were in a position to be able to carry on. It's just unfortunate. If something changes and we're able to come back with a different proposal, different funding, very happily entertain that.
Okay, at this point, we'll move on to scheduling the meetings and events. All meetings will be held at the Town Hall. Emergency Service Committee will be meeting September 19th at 6 p.m. Planning and Zoning will be meeting October 3rd at 6 p.m. And our next Town Council meeting will be October 10th at 7 p.m. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
Tie. I'll give it to them. Everybody, second?
Aye.
All those in favor?